Draymond Green is declining his $27.6 million player option for next season. His agent, Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski on Monday, here's the quote, "We will continue to talk to Golden State and explore all options," is what Rich Paul told ESPN. Now, I've been hearing, Memphis, and I get it. You want a guy to take, try to rein in Ja a little bit, who speaks his language, who's like, look, I'm not a lame, you know what I mean? Let me try to take you under my wing a bit. But also, if he would be replacing Dillon Brooks, as Jay Will has pointed out, it's not like Dillon Brooks is a great shooter to begin with, and you're replacing the kind of villain on the team with really one of the great players of this era. I love that. Perk, if Dre walks away from Golden State, though, is the dynasty over? Is the Golden State dynasty over?
Hell yeah, it's over. Look, Draymond Green is the most important piece outside of Steph Curry. And we heard Steve Kerr talk about it. Draymond Green is the heart and soul of the Warriors. The Warriors better do everything in their power to make sure that they get this contract done between Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors. Because if he walks, the dynasty is over. And I don't even think that the Warriors will win another championship in the next 10 years without Draymond Green. They have to have him on their roster. It's a must. He's more valuable than Klay, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, all those guys. Anybody but Steph Curry, Draymond Green is the next best thing on the Warriors.
If you reduce the Warriors to two players, to the nucleus of two players who reinvented modern basketball, it is Steph 1 and Dre 2. And for anyone who doesn't think Draymond Green is a Hall of Famer in the future, tell the story of basketball in this era and don't include Draymond Green. I dare you. It's not possible. That man's a Hall of Famer one day, and he's still good. Tim, what are some potential fits for the future Hall of Famer?
Well, I agree with both of you on his importance to Golden State, and I agree with you on the fact that he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I think this is like the James Harden situation, though, Max, where I don't really see another fit that makes sense outside of Golden State. Just like I don't think there's a fit for James Harden that makes sense outside of Philadelphia. We could, play fantasy GM and look at different options, but when you talk about the symbiotic relationship with Steph and Draymond and their ability to play off each other, and with the shooting of Steph and Klay making up for some of the weaknesses Draymond has offensively and accentuating his ability to make plays, if he goes somewhere else, I just don't really like the fit very well at all at his stage of his career. Whereas if he stays at Golden State, gets a long-term deal done, and is part of that crew going forward, which, by the way, as he has said repeatedly, that's what he wants to do, it allows him to still be an elite player, and I think it still gives them a chance to be a team that can make a real run in the West.
Not to a, C.J. McCollum for Zion. It hasn't exactly worked out for Zion, but you got the idea.
Yeah.
A still good player, not a guy just going to ride the bench, a really good player to try to be the veteran presence. You don't see Draymond as having an influence there on a team who does have some shooting?
We're talking about Memphis?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't really like the fit. Like, let's say they keep Steven Adams in that deal. Are you trying to play Draymond at small forward? I don't really think that works. It's an okay fit. I still just think, though, that the best place for him by far is to stay in Golden State. I don't really think there's a close second.
All right. This just incensed Game 1 of Yankees-Red Sox. Wizards are indeed finalizing a deal to send Bradley Beal to the Suns. The deal could take a few days to be completed, but Beal is on his way to the Suns to form a new Big Three with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, sources said. Under the proposed trade, the Suns would get Beal and two others in return for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, plus multiple second-round picks and potential pick swaps in upcoming drafts. Tim Bontemps and Big Kendrick Perkins with me now. Perk, does this make the Suns, we still got to see what happens with DeAndre Ayton, right? But does this make the Suns the favorites in the West right now?
Absolutely, because they're just getting started. And I know everybody keep talking about, well, they got to fill out the rest of their roster. Well, this is a great starting point. And no stuff. You have to fill out the rest of the roster, and I feel like the Suns will. But when it comes down to three of the most prolific scorers in the league, you have that in Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. Here's the thing that I think people are missing when it comes down to those three guys in particular. All of those guys are underrated playmakers. Bradley Beal could facilitate. You could put him at the point. You could put Devin Booker shoulders in this postseason. You could slide him to the PG at times. He's trusted to make the right decision. And we've seen Kevin Durant play that point forward position on plenty of occasions. This was a serious upgrade, and they should be the favorites in the Western Conference.
All right, Tim Bontemps, before you get into a whole thing, they don't have the depth. They just say, let's see what they do. The Nuggets are still blah. I get it. I know where you're going already. We know.
Okay.
All right, this is what I want to know from you.
Okay.
How much pressure is now with guys like Kendrick Perkins talking about they're going to be the favorites? How much pressure is now on KD, who, after all, didn't just get there in the last-second trade and played 8 games, right? To finally win a championship all those years in OKC, then in Brooklyn. Now, if he's been on nothing but great teams or talented teams, to finally win a championship without Steph Curry.
I think the pressure's on Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, because to me, this goes back a decade to when the Brooklyn Nets with Mikhail Prokhorov were spending money left and right and throwing money at things left and right, including getting Perk's old running mates, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce from Boston, right? Making a huge trade, trading pick swaps in the future. And at the time, I kept being told when I was covering the Nets, we're going to spend money for the next decade. Doesn't matter about this stuff. We're just going to keep being good, right? And then 18 months later, the team was around 500, and they were like, we don't really want to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on this team. That's not very good.
I'm following.
And then it went crazy.
Right now.
Well, hold on. So, look, I think the Suns have a very narrow window with Kevin Durant where they have a chance to win. And I think the pressure's on him. It's on Bradley Beal for picking the Suns, picking that place to go over Miami, over other places. And it's on the Suns as a whole because we've probably never seen a team go as all in as the Phoenix Suns are, to the point where they have no draft picks. They're going to be spending hundreds of millions of dollars on this team. So I think it's on everybody. It's on the owner, it's on KD, it's on Beal, it's on everybody.
I'm stopping you right here, Bontemps. Wait a minute. I understand the analogy, but Prokhorov threw money in a cap league where you're just capped out at a certain point. You can't just keep spending money that way. At the best available players, none of them, at that moment that he got them, were anything like MVP-level players. They were all-stars, but just all-stars. KD, when he's on the court, is an MVP-level player. Devin Booker is trending to that. Bradley Beal is a high-level all-star. Don't you think this is qualitatively different than Brooklyn?
I don't know if it's qualitatively different partially because of what you said, when they're on the court. We're talking about 3 guys that have combined to average to miss 30 games a year the past 2 years. So I'm not convinced all these guys are going to be able to play 65 or 70 games. And again, when you're talking about being the favorites in the West, with all due respect to Perk, from a talent standpoint, I get it. But to me, if you look at this team, 8 months from now, we're heading towards the playoffs, and we're talking about Phoenix trying to be out of the play-in like the Lakers were last year, I think that's a very likely outcome given the fact that we could see all these guys miss a ton of games, and then they don't have the depth to make up for that.
Perk, DeAndre Ayton, you see it like I see it. He ain't going to do anything with the Joker, right? You're going to have to turn him into multiple pieces to flesh it out. But I was talking this morning on the radio, and Bobby Marks seems to feel, for example, that Ayton has real trade value. What did you don't have to name players, but what are you looking for to get for a DeAndre Ayton?
Well, I think you got to get back a couple of players. And if I'm the Phoenix Suns, I'm calling the Memphis Grizzlies to find out about Kennard and Steven Adams, right? Because I believe that money could work, and you could do a trade with DeAndre Ayton. Now, the thing is, does Memphis want DeAndre Ayton? But if the Suns could pull that off and get back a shooter and Luke Kennard, and also get back Steven Adams, one of the best defensive anchors in the game today, a guy that could actually go a little bit toe-to-toe with Jokic, not being able to stop him, but being able to contain him, that's the trade I would be looking for if I'm the Phoenix Suns.
Or at least extract a price from Jokic over time, try to grind him a little bit. All right. Meantime, more big news.